Hello, everybody who tunes in to Radio Entrepreneurs. My name again is JDavis, and as we head into end of summer, I hate to say, we are still streaming stories of leadership, entrepreneurship, and doing more stories and watching more people listen to our stories than ever before. And every week we like to check in with Mark Furman, director, shareholder at the law firm of Tarlow, Breed, Hart and Rodgers, for our segment Entrepreneurship and the Law. And Mark, every week I see more and more how important the law is for entrepreneurs.
Well, good morning, good afternoon, Jeffrey. Nice to see you.
Thanks, Mark.
So yes, I mean, there's a lot of misinformation about what people are allowed to do and what they are not allowed to do. So I always say that business owners need to have their group of advisors, their accountant, financial advisor, lawyer, consultant, and because it is true that multiple brains are better than one, and everybody has different subject matter expertise. And the law is so complicated, and I sometimes see people acting based upon instinct or based upon cocktail party chatter about how things are, what you can do and what you can't do, and you have to take a deep dive into particular issues to understand risk. There's a lot of landmines out there for business owners with the law, whether it's employment law, just as one example, all the tax reporting issues as another example, and there are many, many others, environmental laws, and nobody has all the knowledge to be able to talk through the risks. I'll throw in insurance advisor to the mix of important advisors for companies because they're in the business. A good insurance advisor is in the business of helping you evaluate risks. You can close your eyes and pretend there aren't risks out there, but there are, and not all policies are created equal. And there are gaps in coverage and you need to understand it. So there's just so much misinformation out there, Jeffrey, about what the rules are. And I just think it's really important for companies to not view their advisors as an expense item, but to view their advisors as an essential part of the business to protect, which for, I'd say, most business owners is the most important financial asset in their life, the one that determines their income stream, the one that determines their how they're well off they're going to be financially at the end of the day when they wish to retire. So, my advice is don't be penny wise and pound foolish. Surround yourself with people you trust, and who give you honest advice, even if it's the advice you don't want to hear.
Well, I think you touched upon many of the particular issues of the entrepreneurial leader, and that is they use their instincts a lot. They can be very controlling. That's how they built their businesses, on their instincts, their controlling natures. And I don't think any of us has a law degree. It's hard to know the law. The law is changing all the time. And when it contradicts with your instincts and your controlling nature, sometimes entrepreneurs don't want to hear it. that's been their way of running their own private companies for many years. And you can't, when it comes to the law, you can't hear what you want to hear. You have to hear what's really happening. And I do think it goes against their natural tendencies. And having a multidisciplinary team, just to let you know I'm listening, I think is key. When I first started to consult, there was never for me a multidisciplinary team. There were attorneys, there were accountants. At least for me, we were not talking as a team. But today, almost every account I work on, I speak with the attorney, the accountant, you're right, the insurance agent, the investment manager or leader. And we're trying to understand as a team how we can help the leader or the entrepreneur, the family, get to where it needs to go, because there are many ways to look at it.
Yeah, I mean, everybody has their own area of expertise, and nobody's perfect. So everybody has greater strengths in some areas than in others. And that team approach is just, I think, critical to avoiding preventable mistakes. And so you're right in describing kind of the entrepreneurial mindset that has led companies to be successful, to get off the ground, to survive, hopefully to thrive. But there's definitely a need for outside advice. And I'm just not talking about legal advice, all sorts of advice. And, I often say that, there can be the worst lawsuit on the merits against you, but the cost of defending it can pose an existential threat to the business. And so preventing the suit is sometimes more important than actually the merits of the suit. It's not always true, but just take a step back, and if you're going to terminate an employee who's been with you, maybe a member of a protected class, stop and get some advice and figure out together an approach that is most protective for your most important financial asset, your company.
Well, and I think also, I just add also, if you have rules for employees, but not rules for family members, if you have compensation for employees and not a compensation structure for families, you're leading to inconsistencies, which could get into a problem with an employee that you may be needing to move over, because owners, family members working in businesses are employees. And if you don't have a fair compensation structure, it could lead to problems that you never assumed would happen. Correct?
Yes. And the employment laws are particularly complex for an employer to navigate in so many different ways, whether it's the wage laws or the anti-discrimination laws. Sometimes I see people inadvertently not have employees at will, even for certain employees, even though they think they do. They just haven't protected themselves to make it clear at the outset of the relationship that the arrangement is one that's at will. The employee may leave at any time with or without cause, and the employer may terminate the employee with or without cause. That doesn't mean the employer can necessarily terminate without cause, but as a general rule, it can, subject to all these other laws that protect workers against discrimination and other things. So,
and you can let an employee go. It is at will, and you can still end up having a grievance with unemployment that you have to deal with. that could cost you a lot of money ultimately. So you have to be careful of the law. That's really the point that you're making, and I'm supporting. The laws supersede our little private kingdoms that we run.
That's true.
So we've been speaking with Mark Furman, a director, shareholder at Tarlow, Hart Rodgers. This is the segment Entrepreneurship and the Law. Mark, if someone wants to get hold of you, how would they find you?
Best way to reach me is by email, mfurman, Furman, at TBHR-law.com.
Thank you very much. And we'll see Mark Furman again next week on Radio Entrepreneurs.